is Victoria Rudolph. I'm very excited to be able to have this chance to talk to you all today. I'm just going to share a little bit of my journey to see if it helps you on yours. We're all going somewhere, we're all trying to get from A to B, and it's about how do we make that transition and what advice, support can we get along the way. So I know how I've received a lot of support, and it might be applicable to your own journeys and your own personal life. So to give you a bit of context of who I am, you might be able to hear my accent. I'm British, so I was born in London here in the UK, and I'm assuming a large part of the audience are going to be Black American, female, in American, USA people. So maybe our stories may not be the same, may not be applicable, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. And there's definitely something you can get out of any journey, any female journey, trying to make it in either corporate or our own, creating our own businesses. There's also always something we can teach each other. And I've discovered it by having amazing conversations with amazing women that I've come across in my career over the years, and they've always come about in really weird ways. So the title of my talk is Network Until We Get Work, and I came up with the idea by looking back on how did I get to where I am, and it's always been some sort of connection to a specific person who's dropped a bit of information, and it was enough to spur change, a positive change in my professional life. And I thought I'll talk you through how I did, what I do, and who those people were. So I think the first time I considered getting into business was at university. So I was studying just for the sake of studying. I come from an African background. Education is very important. Succeeding in Europe, because my mother came from Africa to Europe to succeed, for her family to succeed. So I felt that pressure, and I felt that goal has to be achieved. I'm here at university. I've done a lot to get here, studying a lot, working very hard. Now I'm here, what can I do to actually secure a future going forward? And I was looking left and right, beyond my course, beyond my lectures, to the people I'm around. I've never been around these types of people before. At university, I met all kinds of people, not just from the UK, but from abroad, all different socioeconomic levels as well, which is where my eyes opened a lot more. What does it take for me to move up, to provide for my family when I have in the future, and how I can learn from those who already have to make sure that I get. So I'm in the stage of wanting to get, and I'm around people who have. How do they get? How do they have what they have? That was a big question I had. So I would use it as an opportunity to network with friends, enjoy university. I lived away from home for the first time, and that was all amazing. But I did know at the end of these years, I need to be going back home with a degree and with a plan on how to succeed. And so making those networks with these people, asking questions and seeing how did their families become so wealthy. I was in university. I don't know if you went to university, but we have scholarships, we have funds, we have grants in the UK. There are ways of people from any background to get into university, which is not the same in the States. And in Europe, it's actually even better because university is free. So to get into university is accessible here, but then that means everyone comes out with a degree. And how do we compete? I don't have an uncle, I don't have a father who can give me a job. You have a degree, come work for my firm. We didn't have those kind of connections. So this networking, I would have to create my own networks in order to get work. So I liaise with people who I had fun with, and they would also say, at the end of this degree, this is the job I'm going to get. I'm going to have work experience now. I'm going to get access to industries now whilst I'm studying, before even getting into work, before graduating, before applying for actual jobs. That wasn't something I heard of. That wasn't something that we were talking about the dinner table about. Oh, okay, you do your lectures. Don't forget to get that summer internship. Don't forget to get that work experience. I didn't know any of this. And the first thing I said, okay, how and what am I going to do? So when I look back, I was looking at my CV the other day. I did as much as I could outside of school as well as in school. So I spent 4 months in Asia, in China specifically, working in a law firm, because my dream was to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to wear a suit, I'm going to walk down, I'm going to have cases, I'm going to have clients. I didn't really know so much about it, but I saw what they have on the TV, you know, suits and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be that. So let me try and get a bit of experience and exposure. And why not be quirky and different and see if I can get it abroad? Why don't I go to the other side of the world and just go to China? So I made an application and I was lucky I got in. I didn't think I would, but that's what I was told. That would be a great thing on your CV, something I didn't know before. And that's because of the people I was around. They said how good this would have been. So I applied because I heard of this. If you don't know, you don't apply. And I went. So I spent 4 months in a city called Qingdao. I probably mispronounced it. I learned a little bit of Mandarin, a little bit of Cantonese, but maybe not enough to pronounce the name of the city. But I was in Qingdao, which is a coastal city. So we had beach all along one side and port. It's one of the biggest shipping ports in China. And I was working in a law firm where we dealt with shipping law. My degree wasn't law, by the way. My degree, I did history and art and languages. So I was learning on the job. This is really learning on the job. And I was the only non-Chinese person in the office, which for me is a big thing. I'm from London. It is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. I grew up with all races and I was comfortable being around all races. Now being the only one, that was difficult. But again, I'm going to network with these people until I get work. Because remember, this is not a job. They're not paying me. They're not paying me. They gave me a little bit of travel bursary so I could get there. And I had a place to stay, which are two really big expenses that I didn't have to pay. Everything else, I wasn't getting an income. So I need to network until I get some work. So I went, I presented myself as best I could. I know I am representing what it is to be a Black woman in law, which is a big responsibility. It was a very big law firm, and it was very new that they started this internship for UK students. So I didn't want it to be a bad experience for them or a bad experience for me. So I present myself well. I work really hard. I get to know my team inside and outside of work. I share what it is to be me. I share what it is to be a smart, trying to come across as smart, professional Black woman, because I still haven't made it to where I want to be. I still haven't gotten the work, gotten to the place I need to be, but I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. That's what's going over in my head. Every day I woke up early, get to the office, every day thinking I need to represent myself in the best way. And so that's tip number one. Whenever you're networking, whenever you're trying to get from A to B, as I said in the beginning, you have to represent yourself in the best way. And it's not just how you look, it's not just the knowledge you have, it's your attitude as well. So I came across many challenges when I was in China. Language barrier, very difficult. People in my office spoke business English, but it was difficult to communicate outside of that. But I know I needed to create a cohort of people who I can keep in touch with and who I can learn from, because like I said, this wasn't my major. I was learning on the job, so I need people to learn from. There was a lot of cultural barriers as well, a lot of negative stereotypes that I was always trying to debunk. I was always trying to knock out and create a new stereotype of what it is to be me. And again, me is representing a race of people that they don't have in the office. There were other challenges that I faced as well. People trying to deliberately undermine me, deliberately say, this type of person we don't want again in our organization. It was kind of an experiment, but it's not going to go well. And I did not want that to be the case. Not only do I want to get work, I also want to pave a path for those who come after me. And I've been raving to all the people in my university, do this application. So we have a Black network at university. I said, apply. Don't just apply in the UK because we're competing against all these other UK people. Apply in other countries. To go from the UK to France takes 1 hour. To go from the UK to Spain is a couple of hours, and our prospects increase. but it's having that courage and having that knowledge that I didn't know. The minute I knew, I'm starting to share it with my network. So I didn't want me and my experience to block the barrier for other people coming to this specific firm. So again, that was going through my head. So I was just representing myself as best I could throughout that time. The result of all the networking that I was doing was that I got accommodation at the end of this work experience, which was amazing. That really helped me get a full-time job when I actually graduated university. And also it's a program that they continued for the next year of students at my university to go and do the same thing. So I achieved my personal goal, and it helped me get from A to B, B being a graduate with, a useful degree and an actual job career to go down. The second time I networked, it worked out, and it got me from A to B, was a part of a charity that I was part of. This is a charity that we have in London, specifically for London kids who come from poor backgrounds, but they have good grades. So kids who study hard, who have an ability, but then don't have everything else that goes with, wealth or connections. And they would help us understand what it is to do different types of professions, even just how to dress up nice, how to put on a suit, make sure you iron your shirt, telling the guys you need to do your tie in a certain way to look professional, make sure your shoes are shined, really basic things that do make a difference between, a college student who's just looking around and an actual professional who they want to pay to do this job. They actually want to give a salary to. And this charity, I can honestly say, changed my life. I just went to learn a little, but then I made such great connections by networking, not just with the other cohorts, the other poor students who had good grades, but the actual people who organized it and the companies that support the charity. So a lot of businesses give money to the charity, a lot of business give their time. And it was through networking via this charity that I met a specific woman. I asked her, can you just explain your role? Because I'm doing a project for this charity and we're trying to get more funding, and we're going to do a presentation amongst us kids just to understand what it's like. And she was kind enough to give me her time. I think it added to her charity work that she can put on her work record, that she was helping these poor kids. And we had sat down, we had a coffee, and it was so personable. She really shared who she was. I shared who I was. I shared, the history of my family, people coming over because of war in their country, moving across, coming here, what it's like to be an immigrant in the UK. And I think us sharing and opening up, and more than networking, I would say it started off as networking, it ended up as a connection, a true friendship. After that, she opened up a bit more about the real way of getting into her specific job. So she worked in banking, and she kind of turned into an auntie type figure. An auntie, I don't have aunties who know how to get into banks. She was someone in the bank who turned into an auntie, again, because I was trying to represent myself in the best way and being vulnerable. In that conversation, I do remember sharing things that I wouldn't share with teachers, or I wouldn't share with other people I come across. But I knew that this woman has the potential to take me on a different path, to take me again from A to B. And she opened up doors for me. She was more than a mentor. She was more than a sponsor. She physically, I think, was a guardian angel opening doors for me. And from that conversation, I got enough information to know how to make an application, where the role was vacant, how to do the interview, all the things that I didn't know before, and I got a job. That was networking, and then I got the work. And it was, again, just by trying to not just be myself, but also open up more than I would. So in that conversation, I was a little bit more of myself, a little bit freer, because I had more confidence from previous work, from previous experiences, where opening up gets people connected to me and trusting me and seeing that, I may not know because I haven't worked in the industry, but, I can. And I got into that job. She was promoted within her role. And then all of a sudden, I know the director of the company. Not only was she the one that got me in the job, but we had a great friendship. And that really boosted my career going forward. And I turned around to the charity. I worked with the charity that actually opened the door and connected us together, and helped the other kids who were trying to do the same as me get work experience in the company I was working in, get CV practice in the company I was working in. And I mentored them with my colleagues. So kind of, expanding what happened to me and trying to make it happen to other people, in order for them to get work, in order for them to network. Another example of a time where networking got me from A to B may be more applicable to you, because I believe most of you are entrepreneurs. Most of you are starting your own business. So it's not about getting into university. It's not about getting into a job. It's about kind of germinating your idea and turning it into something profitable. And I used to love dance. I do love dance. I love everything artive and creative. You can see on my wall, I have paintings, I have dance shoes. I love it. It's part of my culture. So I'm Angolan, and we have amazing music. We invented all kinds of amazing dance. It's in my blood. And here in London, I started a dance class, and I was speaking to people and having fun. And then I realized I'm surrounded by all these professional people. There are plumbers, there are lawyers, there are hairdressers, and we all have a connection of our love of dance, teachers. And again, this is an opportunity for me to network and get to know people, not to get a job, because by this point I had a job, but to open up the idea that I've always wanted, which was to start my own business with my passion of art. I didn't see how that could happen. But here I am, surrounded by creative people who are also business people. And I asked, how do you do it? How can I do it? And how can we do it together? So I met this woman. I met her because there were no men in the dance class this day. And it was a salsa class. I don't know if you know about salsa, but you have to be in pairs. There were no men, so I was like, I'm going to be the man tonight. And I turned to the nearest woman, let's dance. So me and her were dancing, we were having fun. I was spinning her around. At the end of it, we went to get drinks, and we spoke, we became friends. And she just happened to be starting her own little business. Her business was creative business, similar to the types of things I wanted to do, but I had no idea how to turn creative into a business, and she did. And we talked. I remember that night, I was tired, my body was tired, and my feet were burning from dancing, but I didn't want to go home because she was dropping gold. She was dropping gold and diamonds, pieces of knowledge, information that really helped, information that I couldn't get elsewhere, information that Google just didn't provide for me. I didn't know what questions to ask. And she really spurred something within me to create my own work. So from that networking session, or that dance class that turned into a networking session, I then had the inspiration, I had the guidance as well, to turn something that I really enjoy, which is my art, into something that's work, into a business, into a product that other people can have. And that was kind of the seed of my business. My business is still very small, and there's still many opportunities for me to understand how to grow it. But I remember that talk, I remember that woman, and she really helped me understand that this is possible and to start. So that was another example again of where this time I wasn't going for work advice, I was just going for fun. But that's the point I'm trying to make. These are all very different scenarios. One, at university, I know people have advice for me. I know that they will graduate and they will go into work, so let me learn from them. The second example was a charity that helps people. So again, I knew if I entered this charity, I would be able to benefit, and then I'll be able to turn around and help that charity again benefit other people. And the third example was completely random. I just wanted to go dancing one night by myself. And salsa class is a very good thing to do by yourself. You don't have to bring people. And there is where I met someone who really gave me inspiration to not just get work, but to create my own work and to be my own employer, my own business person. And I didn't see that coming. So the point I'm trying to make is Networking can happen anywhere, anytime. It can be intentional or unintentional. As you see, some were intentional and some just happened. But I've always tried to utilize that in order to get work or to create your own work, if that's what you're trying to do. And the best way is to be open to opportunities, to have a good attitude to the scenarios that you're put in, whether it be intentional, whether it be accidental. Really be open to connecting with people around you, because you don't know what they have to offer you. Also, you don't know what you may be offering to other people. So I know in my time, I've made a big difference and an impact in other people's lives. Again, not intentionally, but it just happened because they were open to networking with me and connecting with me. And they were open to taking any bits of advice that I was given, and I was passing on to them. And it's being open to these scenarios and being, excited, being not afraid to take on challenges and to put yourselves in new scenarios or existing scenarios, but put yourself maybe a bit more open or freer to share your vulnerability with people, or to be more receptive to accept information from other people in these scenarios, and then put them to action. Network, not just to do it, but to get work or your business, and to actually put into effect the bits of information, like I said, the gold, the diamond, the nuggets of information people drop at your feet, because you can get it from anywhere, but you need to actually utilize it and create what you want using the information that people are giving out. I found that I've been in scenarios where I didn't make the most of it. Well, for example, I was part of this friendship group of very smart people. They knew about numbers and data and things that at the time I didn't know anything about. And I was just more interested in just enjoying their company, maybe learning from them, but not utilizing any of that information. And years later, everyone started talking about cryptocurrency. I'm like, where did I hear about this before? And I heard about this because people were talking about it to me years ago, but I didn't really see it as what it might have turned into. If I had listened and I had invested, it would be a different story. It would be a very different story. So that's a scenario where I should have not just been there and enjoyed my time, but networked until I got something, some moolah, some change, some digital currencies, as they call it. So it's about making the most of the opportunities that we get and the people who are put into our lives. Some people believe nothing happens just out of the blue, but there's a purpose for it. But if you're not open to receiving it, if you're not aware, okay, this is a networking scenario, let me, present myself, let me sell whatever I need to sell, let me learn. If you're not in that mindset, if you're not open, and if you don't have the right attitude in these networking sessions, you're not going to benefit from whatever information they may have shared or whatever advice they could have given or support they were willing to provide to you. And I suppose the final thought I would like to say is a huge thank you. I don't know if they're watching. I'm assuming they're watching because I will send the link to them. But to the women who were in my life, not family members, not friends, just women that I came across. Like I said, the one from the charity, the one from the dance class, just people I've come across. Thank you. Thank you for networking with me. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I took it on board, and I'm trying to make it a success. I'm trying to get work. I'm trying to get from A to B with the information that you gave me. Not only that, but I'm trying to turn around, not to the next generation, because I'm still early in my own career, but to anybody who is willing to learn, anyone who's willing to network, anyone who's willing to take on board advice that I can give for my little time on this earth, to be able to get work within our sector, to get work within our demographic. We as women, we as Black women, we need to support each other. I think we do, but we're not always open to that support. We don't always act on it. And we don't always see that we're in a scenario where let's network today. You can write in the comments, hi Victoria, I would love to connect with you and find out more about yours. Do it. this is an opportunity for you to speak, not just to me, but to any of the speakers in these series and to other people in the comments section as well, to network, to collaborate, to learn from each other, and to be open to the advice people give and take action and get work or create your own work, create your own jobs, create your own businesses from the advice of others who have gone before. So I just want to say thank you. A huge thank you for everyone listening, and to Casey as well for organising all this. I've networked with her, and she's doing something amazing. And again, feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure all the contact information will be sent out, but also on this video, feel free to put in your comment and to network with each other and to get work, to get from your A to what you call your point B. Okay, thank you.
So lovely. Everything about Victoria is just so lovely. Victoria, I'm pulling you on stage right now, Mama, for the Q&A. Network until you get work. Today is the last day that the Blaze Lounge is open. The summit ends tomorrow, y'all. The summit ends tomorrow, and we've been fed so much. But not only that, the chat has been full of sisters who are open to talking and joking and crying together and edifying each other and affirming you and relating to you when you said, oh my gosh, this is me. My edges are snatched. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid to do this, but I need to, right? So please do take Victoria's challenge. It's not advice, it's a challenge to you. She didn't say, I think you should network. Shadi said, network until you get work, right? So tonight's the last night that you're able to do so. Do it. Slide in the DMs like Jazz said in the chat, right? Make connections. Do what you said you're going to do. Blaze means building leaders and accepting zero excuses. You just have to show up. We're here. You know, like the opportunities are here, but just show up. We see you, Victoria.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful. We can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Yes, very clear.
Okay, beautiful. Well, you did an incredible job. The chat was on fire the entire time you were giving your workshop. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive into questions. Ladies, as a reminder, drop your questions in the Q&A section of the box to the right of the screen. It's right next to the chat. It says Q&A, and I'll pull your questions on stage, and Victoria will answer them for you. Victoria, how are you feeling after that workshop just aired to everyone?
I'm feeling really good. Like you said, everyone was commenting, and like piggybacking off each other's comments. So it was really good. And it was a while ago when we prepared this and we filmed this. So it's nice to see how it turned out and it was received well. So yeah, I'm feeling really good.
Good. I'm so proud of you. The first question is coming from Nina. She says, Victoria, hand claps and snaps, sis. I know that's right. How did you encourage networking to nurture relationships versus networking for an opportunity? That's a good question.
Okay. How do I encourage networking to nurture relationships versus opportunity? Okay. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for at the time. So right now I'm in a new job. So I want relationships with my colleagues. I want to be able to collaborate with them, learn what I need to do on this job. So obviously learn from the people who've been there for a long time. So my purpose is now to get that nurturing and kind of connecting with the people I'm going to work with. And the second half of the question, let me just get it up again. Do you mind just putting it on the screen again just so I can see?
Of course. Let me see if it'll allow me to. Here we go.
Yeah. So In that way, I'm just being a bit more having fun with my colleagues. So, for example, it's Christmas. We had our Christmas party this week, and my surname is Rudolph, as you can see. So I'm always the one giving the gifts and the presents, organizing like Secret Santas and Christmas get-togethers, because Christmas is my time of year. And just sharing that passion with my colleagues is building that network, is building that connection, not for business purposes, but just to get on with them. So finding something that I enjoy and kind of bring joy to others really helps. But when I'm talking about networking for business, it's about adding value. So me throwing a Christmas party may not add value to the other person, but me saying I have these expertise that you can utilize in your business, that adds value. Me talking about my experience and how it's relatable to what you're doing, that gives me credibility, and that kind of networking is slightly different. And that's the kind that I like to do when I'm hoping to build a connection with someone for work purposes or business purposes or investment. So yeah, it's how I link up with people. Is it just for fun, or is it showing the benefit and the value and the worth I can offer to them? I think that's how I differentiate the two.
Beautiful. Love that. And this one kind of piggybacks on what you just said. This question comes from June. She asks, Victoria, how has your networking led you to being a benefit to others rather than you being the benefactor?
How's networking led to me being, the benefit to others rather than being the benefactor? So like I said, I do a lot of mentoring, where I think the sole purpose is for me to benefit someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I grow as a person and I learn how to communicate. I learn how to share what I know. But the purpose of why I signed up is to benefit someone else, is to help that other person. And I mentor young girls who have a similar background to myself. So I can connect with them and I understand their struggles. And I also understand the struggles they're going to face going forward that they're not even aware of yet, and how to prepare them for that. So in benefiting others, I know what I needed at that stage of life and what I got from some people or what I was lacking. And I think for me, when I want to help someone else, I just put myself in their position and see what would make their journey easier. And ask questions as well. You can ask, what do you need? If I'm going to help you, what do you need from me? How do you want me to communicate that to you? How do you want me to show you? And they can lead. They're the ones benefiting. They can lead with what they need, and you can give them what they've asked for by just asking that question.
That's good, Victoria. And I think it brings up something we need to talk about, right? Which is strategy, right? You just said a person should ask, well, what do you need, right? Or we should ask, even though we're expecting something, we should ask the question, what do you need? And I want to tell everyone that there is such a thing called as strategic networking, right? Just like we talked about branding, just like we've talked about finances, we've talked about self-care, we've talked about setting smart goals. We should all have a strategy to networking, especially if it's something that makes your skin crawl, right? Because with more reps, you get better at it. But I want to start with you because I have a question for you, Victoria. Do you have any frameworks or repeated activities that you do when you are, seeking out new relationships or seeking out a mentor that you've been eyeing? Like, what are some of the strategies that you use?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to know who you're approaching. If you're, like you said, you're eyeing up someone, you need to know who they are. And it's very easy nowadays because everyone puts their data out on the internet. So you can look them up on LinkedIn, see their experience, maybe where they're from, if they went to a similar college or they're from the same state or from the same country, do you have the same languages? How can you connect even before you've spoken to them? Because people will really appreciate that you took the time to get to know who they are. And it wasn't just, you happen to be here, why don't we talk? They can value the fact that you've done your research. And also, you know how to approach them. If you speak the same languages, then that's instantly a nice connection of, you're from the same state. It's a nice connection to break the ice. So yeah, understanding who I'm trying to speak to really helps on how to approach them. That's something I try to always do. If I have an interview or, if I'm going to speak to investors, I want to know who I'm speaking to. A name is enough to be able to create a kind of profile on that person. You can also look on social media as well. Everyone's on Instagram. What are their hobbies? What things do they like? That always kind of fills in any awkward moments. So there was a lot of people commenting during my talk saying they're not comfortable being vulnerable, or they're introvert, or they don't feel like they can open up. But if you have these extra things that you know about them, then that can take away a little bit of the anxiety. So if you know they love a certain type of music and there's a break in the conversation, you can say, I saw on you went to a concert last week, just to have something to talk about, just to make yourself feel comfortable and that person feel comfortable. Then once you're both on the same page, then go ahead and talk about whatever it is that you want from them or that you want to give to them. So researching them beforehand always helps.
Beautiful. I love that. I agree. And I want to challenge everyone. And when I say challenge, I'm serious. Like, I really want y'all to do this, even if you're doing it scared. I want to challenge everyone to have 3 tiers in their network. Let's call it a pyramid, right? And so this is kind of explaining, June asked in the chat, strategic network. I want to learn more about that. 3 tiers. At the base, you want to have a strategic network of peers. Why? Because in this entrepreneurial journey, much like in your 9-to-5, you want to make sure that you have people that people who you can work alongside, who you would have work for you, or who you could see yourself working for. Life happens real fast. Things take off real fast. The same thing happens in 9-to-5 as it will in entrepreneurship, right? And you want to be building a bench of people that you can collaborate with, that you can brainstorm with, that you can have mastermind sessions with, that you can do partner products with, right? If you want to start going up market and offering more expensive products, but you don't have a certain skill set, y'all collaborate, y'all co-brand the thing, right? We see that all the time. Like now, what are these ugly shoes people wear? The little rubber shoes, like Ranch is on top of it, right? That's a collaboration, right? But build you a bench of strategic peers, right? So that you can always have those people to go and turn to, and build it before you need it, right? How do you build it? We're talking about strategy here. Podcast. What's up? Right? If you don't have a podcast and you want to start a podcast, you need to interview people. Okay, follow people on social media and DM them. Can you be a guest? Okay, they come. Y'all get to know each other. I would love to keep in touch. Okay, like, I'm so serious, right? That's how you start building the bench, right? Following people. If there are peers you admire, follow them. Comments under a lot of y'all, I have never met you in person, but because we've connected on Instagram, right? We feel like we know each other. Zoomy, you're out there. You're one of them, right? Follow them, engage with their posts, respond to their stories, and over time you build this camaraderie. But Zoomy is an example. I've invited Zoomy to my podcast in December this month. We have an interview. She's being interviewed for it, right? But you need to strategically be building out that base of the pyramid, and it's the base because you need to have the most down there, right? So that when it's time to throw your summit, because y'all will, right? You have people to tap on, right? When it's time for you to do an event, when it's time for you to co-brand a webinar, when it's time for you to co-brand a product, when it's time for you, whatever, y'all, you already have a bench of people that you've already vetted and you know their code, right? Second tier of the pyramid, and I'm challenging you because I want you to do this. Write this down in a paper. I have a piece of paper, and as people roll off, if they have to roll off for any reason, right, I'm filling those gaps because I need my base to be bigger than the top, right? The second piece is mentors. Mentors. You need to be strategically networking for mentors. Why? Because a 15-minute conversation with them can save you 5 years of learning on your own. I'm going to say that one more time. You need mentors because a 15-minute conversation with them can save you 5 years of learning on your own. Your peers may not be able to help you in that same way because they haven't gone through seasons and trials and ups and peaks and valleys, right? But your mentors have. One thing to note about mentors is you should not be trying to impress them. And this is whether you're in a 9-to-5 or in entrepreneurship. You should not be trying to impress them. That's not what you have a mentor for. You have a mentor so you can call them with snot coming down your nose and say, oh my gosh, he pissed me off so much. Who does he think he is? I want to go right in there and tell him off so that your mentor can respond to you. And they'll tell you what they should do, what you should do, right? But you need to have a mentor in your pyramid, or a few, right? The base is big, so you have several of those. The mentor piece, you can have 2 or 3, right? But so that you can go to them with that real, my finances are screwed up, what do I do? And they have years in the game so they can tell you, right? I'm really upset, what should I do? I have this new idea, what do you think? And they can ask you questions like, have you tested the market? Have you done market research? Have you looked at data and statistical analysis? Whatever, right? Now, strategy, right? How do you find a mentor? Pull up at summits and people gonna be on the stage. They can be your mentor. You slide in the DMs, right? Go to conferences, pay for conferences, and the speakers that go on the stage, walk up to them and get their business card, and then email them after and say, I would love to have a 30-minute conversation. What you said about XYZ resonated with me. And then after you have that first conversation, say, man, like Victoria says, is there anything I can do for you? They're going to be so impressed, right? And then y'all start that relationship. And then every month or every 2 months, you have a recurring invite on your calendar to meet with them, right? We need to be doing strategic networking. And then at the top of the pyramid, what's that?
Yeah, I just agreeing, keeping that network going. Because sometimes 100%. You do so much, you have this mentor. It's great, and they're giving you information, and then a month goes by, 2 months, and then you've lost everything you've built up. So keeping it going, I really agree with that. Yeah,
100%, y'all, 100%. And then the top of the pyramid, I'm challenging y'all because you need to do this. Like, we cannot afford not to. I'm telling you, like, I've structured the loans for the big companies that's doing mergers and acquisitions. Like Pinterest was a client, Uber was a client, Dell was a client, Apple was a client. Like, this is what these people have in their bags, and this is what we can have if we only know. The top of the pyramid needs to be sponsors. The sponsors are people who can cut red tape. They hired in the mentors because the mentors are not necessarily leading regions and global enterprises, right? They don't necessarily have things at their disposal where they can snap a finger and you move all the way to the front of the line for whatever you wanted, from this big whatever, right? So the sponsors are people who have arsenal at their disposal, and they can cut the red tape and move you to the front of the line, right? But you need those, and those are harder to get. So when you stay ready, you need those ready. Right? So those, you're going to have to just put yourself in the right environments. Your mentor will bring you certain places where you're meeting really high up people and you're going to click. You only need 1 or 2 sponsors, right? That's at the top on purpose. But those are the people where you talk to once a quarter. I talk to my sponsors once a quarter. And I say, oh my gosh, in the last 3 months, I've done XYZ. And now I'm looking forward to XYZ. And what they always say is, oh, let me help you with that. Let me give you $10,000 to do XYZ. Like, that's what, it's nothing for sponsors. Or they say, oh, let me help you for that. Like, let me give you a venue. Let me go ahead and talk to the city. Like, it's nothing for sponsors. They can do what the mentors can't do. You only need 1 or 2, but they'll cut the red tape, right? And give you what you need. Let me introduce you to a person that's an angel investor, whatever. All right, I'm done talking about that. But this is the only networking session that we have, and I need us to be very strategic around this. And I'm not telling you to play the game. I hate, honestly, people saying play the game because it teaches you to be deceitful and it teaches you to be nasty and all of that stuff. No, like, build people that you resonate with, but have this real sturdy, right? And then when you stay ready, you got to get ready. All right. Any more questions for Victoria? We have 15 minutes before Cortesia takes us out with the TED Talk. But the lounge is only open tonight. Like, the lounge closes tomorrow after the closing keynote speech. So if you have any questions or thoughts or reactions, definitely ask Victoria. I know in our community, we don't have this enough. Black people don't have mentors. We don't have enough mentors. Black people do not have sponsors. We don't even know what they are. We didn't even know that people could cut the red tape because we're 110% qualified for everything. When sponsors say, oh, you 25% of the way there, let me give you an extra 75, right? Any questions? And if not, it's okay. We can give you 14 minutes back and y'all can hang out before Cortesia takes us out. I'm going to watch it. Anything else you want to add while the Q&A is loading up, Victoria?
Yeah, so what you were saying about your mentors and your sponsors, I saw this on your Instagram. I think you did a reel like a few months back, and it really resonated with me. And I was thinking, in my network of people, who could be a mentor, who could be a sponsor? Like, how do I differentiate? Because, like you said, we don't see those titles. You know, we're not looking for a sponsor because we don't think it exists. You know, we're not looking for mentors because, again, maybe we're not quite ready. I don't want to go to her when I'm not ready. Like, you, the purpose is to not be ready, and the mentor is
Right.
making you ready, but we don't
Right.
feel comfortable doing that. So yeah, I heard that on your Instagram, and that was part of why I wanted to connect with you. I wanted to be part of this summit because we're learning so much from each other. So yeah,
Yeah.
everyone listening, she's giving good advice, and her Instagram page is full of a lot more advice that we all need to take on board. Yeah, but do
Yeah.
ask any other questions. It doesn't have to be about working, just anything about me. Also, feel free to connect with me. My Instagram is there at the bottom, Victoria Rudolph, as the best way to connect. But also LinkedIn as well, Victoria Rudolph again.
Beautiful. We have a few more questions queuing up. And I also want to add too, y'all should be mentoring people. If you have not started mentoring people yet, again, Auntie June talks about being leaders, right? We're not just entrepreneurs. Y'all need to be mentoring people because y'all need those reps in as well. This question is from Cortesia from the
And
A. Do they donate every month? Are you talking about sponsors, Cortesia? I'm watching the chat. She's so funny. I saw some about a sugar daddy in the chat. So do they donate every month? Seriously, let's talk about this, right? And I'd love to hear if anyone has any different experiences. But Casey believes strongly that you're gonna talk to your sponsors less frequently than you talk to your mentors. Yes, these sponsors are people who are running these huge operations. Like, these are not people like you pick up the phone with the snot coming out your nose. Please don't have the snot coming out your nose with the sponsors, right? That you do that with the mentors. They're really there to help you. They don't have this arsenal at their disposal. What they do have are experiences and nuggets, right? Proverbs to give you. The sponsors, I do not talk to my sponsors every month. I definitely don't talk to my sponsors every month. Every 3 months, every 6 months, that's about how often I talk to them. And when I talk to them, I've always had enough time in between the last time that I can tell them about how much progress I made. I am trying to impress them, right? Not to play the game, but to say, like, I'm serious and I took the little you gave me and I did XYZ and now I'm working on that. And then because we have relationship, right? Victoria kept talking about relationship. We're not playing a game, like we're developing relationship. Because we have relationship, they say, oh, let me help you with that. Right. This was true in my 9-to-5 world. Like, anytime it came around for raises and bonuses, I'm talking about my sponsors. Listen, they were in the rooms making decisions, right? And so they at their word, Casey would get a bump on top of what she was already going to get, right? Because they know what I'm doing and they have arsenal at their disposal, right? But I didn't talk to them every month. I didn't need to talk to them every month. It was a quarterly or twice a year type of thing. Victoria, do you have any perspective on this that you want to add?
yeah, well, I saw a question in the chat saying, how do you get sponsors? And that is something that this year I found hard. So I was running for Miss Africa this year and Miss Universe next year. When you do these kind of competitions, you need sponsors. Like you were saying, Casey, someone to just drop the cash. That's the purpose, you know, for sponsor to cut the tape, make it happen. I personally find it very hard. There's some people that find it easy to get sponsors, maybe because they have experience, they have a good strategy. For me, it was literally reaching out to people who I know have the fund. They're in the position. I know they're in the position to get me. Now it's just a matter of, do they connect with me? Do they want to help? Are they in the stage right now where they want to help? And just reaching out. I reached out, sending out emails, tailored emails, explaining exactly what I'm about. Like Casey said, selling yourself. It's not the snot, it's not the crying, it's not I need the help. This is everything I have to offer. This is everything I'm doing towards the goal. And this extra thing that you can give me is going to make it happen. and showing them exactly what they're sponsoring and making a good offer, good package. For me, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of different people and a lot of rejections and a lot of no replies. And a lot of trial and error. Casey, if you have any advice on a better way to get a sponsor, I would love to learn. But for me, that's how I did it. Just really reaching out and being persistent with it and selling myself to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and I think what you said is awesome. I don't think there's any wrong way. I think it's all strategy, similar to social media strategy. You choose a few, right? There's a bunch of different ways to go about it. Financial strategy, there's a bunch of different ways to go about it. I do two things, right? Well, let me explain. Okay, so one, I have to make sure I'm in the spaces where sponsors are, right? Write this down if you haven't heard of any of these. So I Fund Women. I Fund Women has a group called I Fund Women of Color, right? It's a fire group. We meet. I'm part of it. We meet every single week. Actually, I don't go to the Monday meeting. I don't even know what the Monday meeting is about, but they meet on Monday. But I definitely go to the Wednesday ones, and we kind of peer mentor or whatever. But people come in the room. Woo! Bosses come in the room, right? And just being yourself, right? You can make connections. It's about relationship, right? So again, it's about being in the right places. Going to summits and conferences. Like I pay for at least 6 conferences a year, at least. And I'm talking about pay, right? Because I'm in the right places, because I might see somebody on stage and I'm talking about like a big whatever. I need to be in that vicinity. If I'm in person, like before the pandemic hit, I was in person, right? And I might just rub elbows. It don't always work out, but I might rub elbows with somebody, right? Where we really clicking it, but I have to be in the right places, if that makes sense, right? So on and so forth. Now, I use 2 strategies to secure the bag, right? Because you can be rubbing elbows and then what do you do? Right? One, I'm being very serious. Before I go into these environments, I say to myself, close my eyes every single time. I've done this for the last 5 years. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. I mean, we talk about sponsors, right? You ain't rubbing elbows with them all the time. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Go. And as soon as I say go, I go into it, right? Those are Eminem's words, obviously. But for the last 5 years, I've always said that to myself. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it, because I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to walk up to their circle or they're going to walk up to mine. I don't know when my mentor is going to introduce me to them, but I better lose myself in the music the moment I own it. I better never let it go. I only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes within a lifetime. Go, right? I do that every single time I'm about to be in these environments. Number 2, once I'm in front of these people, and again, lots of strategies out there. This is just Casey's, right? I say I am statements. And I already know, I used to do this all the time. I already know it is off the top of my head, but when I would coach people or mentor people out in Silicon Valley about securing sponsors, I had them write I am statements, and I had them write it down from 1 to 10, because the first 3 gonna be easy. Everybody do the same thing. I am a woman. I am a daughter. I am a mother. Okay, what else, sis? Then you gotta go somewhere, because as Black people, we don't, like we not vulnerable. We not, but you gotta go somewhere. And then you start hearing stuff like I am a first generation college student, and then you hear something like I am a survivor of domestic violence, and then you hear somebody that says I survived breast cancer. Like it starts getting very, very, very deep. And then by the time you get to the end of it, it's very metaphorical. Like I am freedom, right? Like, and then once these people do these things, because this is what I do, that is what I say to the people. That's if I got 10 seconds to make an impression on them, that is what I say to the people. I don't care if you are Joe Biden. Like when I come up to you, you're gonna know who I cape hard for, you're gonna know where I came from, you're gonna know who I'm repping for, right? And it is always different from anybody else in the room, because I ain't trying to sound cookie cutter. Like, this is who I am. This is where I came from. This is the mud I climbed out of, and this is who I'm trying to cape for. Are you with me? Do you want to do some things, right? I see how I can change your company because y'all are doing like that is, I say my I am statement. I don't lie, right? But I'm deep in that thing, and I know 10 things I can pull from that differentiates me, and it always secures the deal, right? It's just that I'm not rubbing up against these people all the time. But then after that first whatever, and I say I would love to talk to you, I take the card and I set up the meeting. And then in 3 months, I'm gonna reach out again and say, hey, how are you doing? I've been thinking about you, right? I just have a calendar reminder, you know? And then 3 months, I do the same thing again. So those are just mine, right? My strategies, but they do work and they're honest. So you don't have to like memorize it. Like, you know who you are, right? You say that to them. And anybody that confident enough to know who they are, know who they cater for, know what their purpose is, and to say to them, like, this is the gap that's missing in the world, and I'm here to change it. Like, they want to be aligned to that, and they say, how can I help you? And I say, well, let's talk about it, right? This one is from Cortesia. We have 3 minutes. She says, should you have money in reserve? Oh, you know what? I think I should make a distinction, right? When I'm saying sponsor and when we're saying sponsor, we're talking about in terms of networking, not angel investors. We're talking about having relationships so that before you need them, you can tap on them. And it could come in the form of money. It could come in the form of nominations and awards. It could come in the form of whatever, right? Business partnerships. It could come from somebody buying you out and you getting $1 million, and then some, like Facebook does that all the time with companies, right? But that's what we're talking about, like sponsorship in terms of networking. I hope that's helpful. Okay, so we're out of time, basically. 2 more minutes. We have 2 more questions. I'm gonna give this to you, I think, Jazz. Victoria, this is from Jasmine. Honestly, where do you find, okay, I can take this. Where do you find sponsors? I have hella peers and solid mentors, but I don't know where to find them and how to start building the relationship. You have to put yourself in the places where they are. Like, I'll give this example, which is not that, well, yeah, I'm gonna give this example, right? So I was on Clubhouse one night, back when it first started, and y'all know after 12 o'clock, the conversations get crazy. And there happened to be this room that was ladies, like older ladies, were teaching young girls how to find sugar daddies. Now, I'm not saying that sponsors are sugar daddies, but listen to the psychology here, because the psychology here is exactly right. The girls were saying, I can't find them anywhere. And I'm a bartender at Route 66, whatever she's saying. And they're just not there. And the older heads were saying, girl, what are you talking about? You need to be in the American Express lounges at the airport. Like, what are you talking about? Girl, you need to be at the million dollar man conferences. That psychology is exactly right. Like, you have to be where these people are. And that's why I keep saying you need to be at conferences, right? You need to be investing in yourself, right? Like, if you are, I don't know, like if you are trying to level up in your industry, are you at the places where industry experts are speaking into you and pouring into you? If you are only on YouTube University, you're not rubbing elbows with nobody, right? So you're not going to find the sponsors. Like, where are these people? Where are they pouring into you, right? What events are being sponsored by corporations? And are you showing up at the networking hours to rub elbows with them? And then when you get your 10 seconds, are you seizing the moment? Like, you have to go where they are, because they're not going to come at your door and knock on it and say, hey, you dropped something when you walk from your car to the front door. They're not going to be there. You got to go where they are. Okay, and then the last one, and then we out, y'all. Cortesia taking us out. Wait, I think I answered this one already. Do they have a portfolio? Okay, so we got through all of them. Victoria, anything you want to say before we close out, Mama?
Yeah, I just want to echo about making the opportunities that we have now. So the questions were like, where can we find sponsors? Where? But at least for today, why don't we just utilize who we have access to right now on this forum? So myself, I will also be doing the same as Casey said. I will also be going to conferences, paid conferences, and put myself into positions where there are sponsors and there are mentors. But right now it's almost 11 p.m. here in the UK. So I'm just going to utilize who I have around me. I can see everyone in these comments. I'm going to be finding you on social media and connecting and seeing maybe in your network, there's a sponsor for me. In my network, there's a sponsor for you. We don't know that yet until we connect here today. So that's what I'm going to do. And I hope that you do the same. And yeah, just a thank you. I know we've got less than a minute now. So thank you again for inviting me to speak and for watching. Yeah.
Thank you, beautiful. And thank you for enlightening us all in the Women's Leadership Development panel discussion, as well as with this workshop. You are wise beyond your years, and I'm excited to see you move mountains. I mean that very literally.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, watch this space. We'll see what we do.
You got this, sis. All right, ladies. So now we have the final speaker session of the day. This is coming from Cortesia, and she will be giving a TED Talk. She will be giving a TED Talk on redesigning your branding power. And as we know, she snatches edges. So in the 20 minutes, please hold on tight. It's the last session of the day. As I mentioned, this is the last night that the lounge is open. So take advantage of this opportunity. And tomorrow's the last day, y'all. Yeah, tomorrow's the last day. All right, I'll see y'all on the other side. I love y'all and I mean it. Peace.